Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to be making a floral peekaboo keychain to match the floral tumblers that are so popular. Now this is a very detailed and intricate keychain to make, so we are going to be speeding the process up with using some PDB UV resin, and we're just going to dive right in. So I have my Keychain blank from Amazon. I will link that in the description below for you guys. I'm just going to take the top film off. I'm going to leave the bottom on just to protect that surface until we are completely finished with this. I'm going to grab a piece of sandpaper. This is just a light 400 grit. We don't want to scuff it up too much, but just enough for the resin to really grab onto the surface. Then we're just going to wipe that off with a damp cloth so it is nice and clean, and grab our UV resin from PDB. Now you don't have to use UV resin, there's just a lot of steps to this keychain, so I suggest getting something that helps you speed up the process, but of course if you're doing multiple over the course of a few days, then I mean it's totally worth the extra time. I mixed some Brilliant in also from PDB, and we just want enough to pretty much be thick on our popsicle stick. I don't want to be able to see through it, because if you can, then it's not going to be very thick on your keychain and you'll be able to kind of see through it a little bit, and we don't want that to be transparent. So I'm going to use my popsicle stick and spread it out all over my blank here. And this, I forgot to mention, is a 3-inch keychain. So you have a pretty big surface to work with, and the decals don't have to be cut too small. And as far as the UV resin goes, it's really easy to work with, and I really love it to speed up these little processes on keychains or let's say earrings, a lot of small projects, or attaching extra things to your tumblers. Like I have seen some of the bee tumblers, you attach little bees to them. It's really easy to use, and it works really well with the resin that you are using to complete your project. So as you see, I just popped this in my UV light. This is just a nail light. I believe it was like 16 bucks on Amazon. It is 120 watt, and I'll leave it in here 2 rounds. And 1 round is 100 seconds, so a total of 200 seconds to completely cure this. Now since I did a first layer of glitter, we're going to want the surface to be very smooth for our spray paint on top. So I'm going to do another coat of the UV resin. Make sure when you spread this out, it is really smooth, and you'll see I actually did not get it really smooth whenever I did this spray paint. So you can see how that sort of affects it here in just a little bit. But try to get it really smooth. I was able to even it out a little bit by just running over it with a torch. And then I popped it back in here for another 2 rounds of 100 seconds. This will vary from depending on the machine that you have. So definitely just test it out, sort of tap on the edge and see if it's still sticky. If it is, pop it back in for a few more seconds, and then you'll be good to go. So I have my original decal here that I used for the floral peekaboo tumblers. That will be linked in the description below, as well as the floral design that we are using. I cut this to, I believe, 2.5 to 3 inches is the sizing on this one, and I'm not going to use the whole thing. I want it to sort of go over the edge a little bit. So I just placed that on here and left a little bit over the edge. You don't even have to trim that off, just make sure that it is smooth over the side there. And then we're going to take this outside and spray paint with a Cryline, which is not my favorite, as you guys know, but the color is Matte Glacier Gray. Once we have that spray painted and dried, I am going to grab that excess that I had over the side and just gently pull that off and weed it off of the keychain. And then we are going to go straight into adding our flowers on. Now I used the print to cut feature in my Cricut program to cut out this little flower. This is cut to 2.5 inches. And if you want to see how I cut these out, I go into a very detailed description in my Halloween Floral Peekaboo tumbler tutorial. That was a lot. And once you have the flowers pressed down, then coat with Rust-Oleum matte clear coat 2 times to make sure that those are nicely sealed. This is going to prevent any bubbling whenever you put the resin on top. Since the printable vinyl is porous, whenever the epoxy settles down into the paper to seal it, the bubbles will rise, and I just have all kinds of problems with that. So I always seal my printable vinyl before applying my epoxy. Now, I'm sorry for being a little off frame here, but I used a glove to apply the UV resin this time, and I think that's where I made a mistake. I should have used the popsicle stick as I had before to get it really even, because the glove sort of gave me a few little streaks, and I did have to sand after this step. But next time I will definitely use a little bit more of the UV resin and a popsicle stick to get that spread out really evenly. So I'm just going to sand over this to smooth it out just a little bit from the grooves that I had from using my glove. And then we're going to go right in and apply our decal. And I did forget to mention in the beginning, I used 2.5 milliliters initially of the UV resin to apply the glitter to the blank. And here I also have 2.5 milliliters of a little extra ink epoxy. And we're going to add some diamond dust from PDB, just a very minute amount. I don't even think you can see it on screen. I just basically dip the end of the popsicle stick into the micas, and that is enough to give us some shimmer. Now, just to be clear, a little extra ink epoxy is not a UV resin. You cannot cure it with a UV light, but it is UV resistant. I have a cup that I have made a 1.5 years ago with a little extra when I first started using it, and it is still like crystal clear, white as it can be. So it is an amazing epoxy. It does dry very quickly, although not a UV or a fast set. I can coat this, and I will come back to it in about 4 to 6 hours, and I can attach my hardware. So that's almost unheard of with any other epoxy. So I absolutely love ALE and the shine that it gives on all of my projects. And once this has dried for 4 to 6 hours, I'm going to remove the backing from it, and we are going to attach our hardware. Now, the hardware did come with the acrylic blanks, which I really love, but you can also purchase them separately on Amazon, and PDB has some really cute bubble beads that you can purchase to attach to these. You can do lots of cute stuff with your keychains. So I have a pair of needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to speed through this so you guys can basically see placement. This is pretty much self-explanatory. Just clamp the O-rings together and attach all your hardware to your keychain. And once I have all of my hardware attached, I'm going to take some acetone and a Q-tip and clean up around the edges really well, and this will be complete. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, just drop them in the comments. I'm very active and will answer them as quickly as possible. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and a Facebook group. I love seeing what you have created from watching my tutorials or inspired by, and we do lots of giveaways and have fun in there. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and hit the little bell in the corner if you would like to be notified anytime a new tutorial drops. And again, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time.